Welcome to the Breakthrough and Bloom podcast. My name is Kelsey, and I am so excited that you are here. This podcast is your welcome into the world of woo, spirituality met with mental health, met with emotional balance, all while keeping it casual. My intention for this podcast is to help shift perspectives, to provide an opportunity for you to change the way in which you view, live, and experience your life. Over the past couple years, I've immersed myself in the profound realm of healing work. My journey has been a quest for real, tangible tools that actually work, leading to transformative breakthroughs and a profound sense of freedom. Now, I'm beyond excited to share the wealth of knowledge and practical wisdom that I've gathered with you. This podcast is real, it's raw, it's authentic. I'm sharing my truths, my experiences, my perspectives, and by being open and honest, I intend to create a space where you no longer feel alone because you are so loved, you are so connected, and so worthy of living the life of your dreams. Your healing journey is as unique as you are, and I'm honored to be included in it in whatever capacity you'll have me. Thank you for joining. I'm so excited for this episode. So let's go ahead and get started. Hello, welcome back. You might notice that my background is different if you are watching on YouTube. If not, now you know that my background is different. And that is because Jordan and I finally started our trip traveling down the East Coast of America in our travel trailer. So what you see behind me is the travel trailer. It's super cute. It's very small. And you may have also noticed that last week I didn't have a podcast episode come out. And that is because it was the first week that we were traveling and I didn't have any podcast episodes in the backlog. Most of these episodes are the same week that I'm recording them, they're coming out. So everything is very relevant, very relevant to my life, very relevant to the energies that are going on. And that's probably on purpose because if I'm recording something that's comes out 2 months later, it might not actually be very relevant. So I'm not mad about what had happened, but I'm just putting this out here. I do apologize for missing last week's episode, but I'm here now and we're going to catch up and talk about something that I have learned last week. So, a lot has changed in this last week. I am in North Carolina right now visiting the one and only Kristen, who is always in these episodes. Well, talking, and I'm actually going to do one with her too, so keep an eye on that. I think it'll be really fun. She'll be my first, and I'm not going to say only, but definitely my first guest on this podcast. So a lot has changed. I'm in a completely different area of the country. I'm living in a much smaller space with Jordan and Ranger. Ranger is down here, so you'll probably still hear him. He's just no longer behind me because I put the bed away. It's just better when it's away. But part of the reason why I missed last week's episode is because I was going through some shit. So this has been a really big change, right? And we didn't practice, right? We didn't take this camper out during the summer for weekend trips. We didn't do that at all. We literally just packed up, took it, and we're like, this is what we're living in now, and this is all the things that we have now, right? And that I did not realize was going to be kind of a shock for my body. So it was really interesting to experience my mind and my body doing two totally different things. And for someone who doesn't, isn't familiar with the fact that the mind that's in our head and then our body has its own mind, its own thing. So the conscious, subconscious mind, right? For someone who's not familiar with that, what I had experienced might be extremely overwhelming, because my body was so uncomfortable. Like I was feeling significant anxiety. I was moving through significant anxiety, but the thing was is I wasn't having anxious thoughts because I wasn't mentally anxious, which was really interesting because from someone who like has experienced anxiety to that level where the anxiety was because of my mind, for my body to now be triggering the feelings, it was really interesting. And they were on two totally different pages because mentally I was fine with this. I knew what was happening. I knew what I was getting into. I knew that there would be like little things we forgot or little hiccups that might happen while we're trying to get like adjusted to all of this. And it was just really interesting that my body was so genuinely uncomfortable. Like the tightness in the chest, the lump in the throat, the like uneasy stomach, like the typical anxiety symptoms that I had experienced back in high school that I have not experienced in quite a while. And it's interesting because these feelings are coming up a lot lately, which I know is connected to the fact that there's a lot of things in my teenage years that need to be healed. So my body is literally bringing it up. So I'm aware of this and I'm moving through it. And this is part of the reason why I didn't record my episode last week, is because I wasn't really in a space to do so. Like I could have recorded, but what would I have recorded? I don't know. And it may have just been like the wrong vibe, just wrong energy. And I didn't want to bring that. Not that I don't want to share that with you. I'm sharing it with you now, but like this podcast is to help people. So me being in my fucked up state a little bit. I mean, it could be helpful. Who knows? If you want to see it, I'll do it. But I didn't. So I worked through it, and it was really interesting because I just had to like let it out. I just had to like cry, and I didn't really know why, and I just had to like say how uncomfortable I was and like express that and state what was bothering in me and what needed to be changed. And just not bury it down and be like, oh, I'll deal with this silently or another way, but more of like, okay, something is coming up and out, and I got to let it come up and out, right? And when I was letting it coming up and out, I realized how much I had like gotten myself, I don't want to say stuck, but just very used to being in my comfort zone. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I was kind of, not in a negative way, but I was kind of doing myself a disservice because I was so comfortable in my routine, in my home, in the things that we did day in and day out. Like too comfortable to the point where when I took myself out of it, my body had a full blown like freak out session. And I was like, wow, like, I was doing that to myself, and like I have this beautiful opportunity now to do the opposite, but I did have the realization of like, not that I put myself in a box, but a little bit, right? I got too comfortable in my routine. I got too comfortable at home, and I had the realization that part of that is, why I hadn't really been pushing myself with this business or with this podcast or with the things that I'm offering or my social media, because I was just so comfortable that I just went back and reverted to the things that I was comfortable with instead of like pushing forward because I didn't have to. I was in my comfort zone. And I realized like this is going to be a really great opportunity for me because I'm already out of the comfort zone. So why not push ourselves a little bit further and do some of these more things? And granted, I haven't started quite yet, but that is because I literally have just started to feel like comfortable in this space, and not comfortable in my comfort zone, but comfortable to where my body is like able to decompress at the end of the day. To feel like this isn't some weird, crazy thing that's happening that I have to like flee or protect myself from. Um, and, with this thought, I was like, taking myself out of this comfort zone was kind of a shock. And how much I hadn't been embracing the uncomfortableness of life, right? Like of change. So to grow and to fulfill our dreams and to be the version of ourself that has all of our desires, we do have to change. We do have to grow, right? It's part of the process. And you have to get uncomfortable when you change, because that's literally how our bodies respond to a change in stimuli. Our bodies want us to be in familiar territory and familiar surroundings and familiar settings and familiar patterns, right? Because it's predictable. We can predict what's going to happen. We have expectations that, are safe, right? And when we move out of our comfort zone, when we want to change things about ourselves to fulfill our dreams, to follow our purpose, to, fill our cup, that changes the routine. It changes the setting. It changes, what the body is experiencing. And that causes the discomfort. And that was exactly what I was feeling. And I just had this reminder of how important getting uncomfortable is, and how important being comfortable with being uncomfortable is, right? That it's part of being human, because it's part of like what our body does. It's part of how our body protects us. But I forgot the beauty that lies in being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and knowing that discomfort like this, when you're doing things that are actions and steps towards your goals, right? And I'm not saying like discomfort in a way of like you're genuinely uncomfortable or doing things that are harmful or in really not safe situations, but like if you're uncomfortable following your passions, following your dreams, following your desires, find comfort in that discomfort, knowing that that discomfort is because you are following your dreams and that you are following the steps and the actions that are required of you to align yourself to your desires, because they already exist. They already exist. And it's just a matter of getting your frequency to match the frequency of which that desire is in a state in which it is experienced, aka manifested. So this discomfort, this uncomfortableness of when you are taking steps towards your desires, it's an indicator of growth. It's the loudest and probably the best indication that growth is happening. And this discomfort is required for growth, because it means you're literally getting out of your comfort zone. And it's your body's way of telling you we are doing something we are unfamiliar with. And that's exactly what you need to manifest the things that you want. Because if you are already aligned to your desires, if you were already that version of yourself, you would already have it. You would already have those desires. You would already have those manifestations. It would already be yours. Granted, it is already yours, but I'm saying in the reality in which you are experiencing, it would already be yours. And in order to get to that, you do have to change. You do have to grow. And that requires discomfort. So this episode is really about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and seeing the beauty that lies within being uncomfortable, and knowing that this discomfort is because of growth that is happening. And this discomfort is because you are taking the steps required of you to fulfill your dreams, to bring your desires to fruition, to manifest the things that you want in your life. Because it's a two-step thing. You do have to visualize it and believe it and feel into it, but you do also have to take action, right? Like the universe can only provide so much. It's like saying, okay, I don't want to go grocery shopping. Great. Let's do Instacart and have it delivered. And like the universe is doing all of this work, right? You don't want to go out and it's bringing everything to you, and then you're not opening the door. You're not taking that simple action to open the door to receive your food. And that's what these steps of doing the things that that version of you would be doing. So like, for example, me, I want to have like this podcast and be doing podcasts with other people and, creating online courses. I have to take steps to do that. I have to reach out to people to do podcast episodes with. I have to create the content for courses. I have to create the content for social media to put it out there that I'm creating courses, right? Like I have to take steps, and I have to just take them knowing that there is no such thing as like perfect. Like everything is perfect, but like there is no such thing as like the perfect post, right? Because the perfect post I might think is imperfect, and then I never put it out, but it would be perfect for someone else. So like not chasing perfection, and just doing the things and knowing that perfection, quote unquote perfection, or like comfortability comes through doing something more and more and more. You get comfortable with things that you are familiar with. So obviously the first time that you do something, the first time you paint, the first time you go to a dance class, the first time you go to I don't know, a singing class, an opera class, whatever, it's going to be uncomfortable because it's different, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. If it's following your passions and it's literally the steps you need to do to fill your cup, to follow your dreams, then embrace the discomfort, knowing that it is just your body telling you that we are out of our comfort zone, which is exactly what you want. It's exactly what you want, because you want to become a different version of yourself that has all of your desires manifested. And in order to do that, you have to change what you're doing. You have to change your routines. You might have to change your environments, right? And another important thing that I want to point out with this too is like, okay, getting uncomfortable is required, right? Hold on. Actually, just a second. My mic, everything like died. I was in the middle of recording, and my computer decided that it was tired. And anyways, I cut that part out. Maybe I should have left it in, but 1 second while I like move everything back to a place that makes sense. Okay, so another thing that is important is having the tools to regulate yourself when you do get discomfort. So if we are now like, okay, getting uncomfortable is important. I get it. Getting uncomfortable is okay. I get it. But how do I deal with it? How can I move through it? How can I like not spiral and not freak the fuck out when it's happening? Like how can I get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? And it does require that you have tools within your tool belt for self-regulation, for managing emotions, for managing thoughts, for managing your body, right? It's really important to understand how your body is speaking to you, what your body needs, what you need. So maybe you have to like go for a walk, or maybe you need to eat certain foods, or maybe you need to take a nap, or maybe you need to have certain conversations. Like, what is it that makes you comfortable when you are uncomfortable? Or what is it that helps ease the discomfort? So maybe doesn't like completely make you comfortable, but at least eases the discomfort, or helps you move through and regulate your body to release what is coming up and out, because that's all that's really happening when you're getting uncomfortable like that. It's just things from your subconscious, beliefs, stories of yourself, fears, right, that are coming up and presenting themselves in different ways, whether it's like anger, sadness, grief, anxiety, whatever. It's just a message from your subconscious mind that something is coming up and out to be released. Or you can keep it in and keep experiencing it, totally up to you. But I would highly recommend, using tools of self-regulation, of shadow work, of emotional balance and integration, right? Using these tools to help you move through the discomfort so that it becomes not easy, but at least easier to continue taking the steps required of you to embody the version of yourself with your desires already manifested. And it's also really important to be able to differentiate your mind, the ego, and those thoughts that are coming up, like the egoic thoughts, versus like just simply messages from your body just saying like I'm uncomfortable. So like a really big thing that helped me, for example, this past week, was that like I knew that I was experiencing anxiety. I knew that I was feeling these things within my body, but I did not let my mind run rampant with it, right? Like I was observing it, and I was like, okay, my body is experiencing one thing. My mind was not on the same page, right? And this happens sometimes too. Like sometimes our mind creates the anxiety in our body, but then sometimes our body creates the anxiety, because things from our subconscious are coming up based on old beliefs that have been instilled within us during periods of time that we had felt anxiety, maybe in similar situations, or just it's how you respond out of your comfort zone, right? And the thing that had really helped me is that I knew I was not mentally anxious, right? I knew what I was choosing. I knew what I was doing. And I thought it was very interesting that my body was having a completely, completely different reaction than my mind was. And I could have let my mind start going with my body, right? Like if my body's feeling this, it must be true, right? Something must be wrong. I have to start freaking out. I have to start, right? Like I could have started going down that path because my body was experiencing it. But I didn't, because I knew that those would have been like egoic thoughts that were happening, and just letting like that part take control. And I didn't want to do that. And I knew deep down, I knew that it was just my body like experiencing being out of its comfort zone, being in a completely different environment. And I allowed that to happen. And I didn't let thoughts run rampant of like, I need to be freaking out. Like my body is telling me something, right? Like it's a sign from the universe. I should be freaking out. And like, I need to start worrying. Like that never crossed my mind. And that's because I've done a lot of work with my mental and emotional balance. But I would say if you're moving out of your comfort zone and you are starting to feel uncomfortable in your body first prior to your mind having like thoughts, like you are excited about it and that it might be difficult, but you're embracing it. And then when you start doing it, you start feeling really uncomfortable, but like mentally you weren't there in the discomfort. Take note of that and just allow your body to experience what it needs to experience to let it come up and out, and keep yourself in that same mindset you had when you started, when you took that first step, when you took that first action, right? And just keep reminding yourself of like, we are okay. My body is just doing what it does, right? And it wants to keep me so safe, and it thinks we're unsafe, and we're just moving through it, and I'll do what I can to release it and to get us back to stable, right? And you might be thinking, this is like such a different way of thinking. And yes, it is. And it's, I don't want to say like detached in a way that it's not present, but it's detached in the way that I'm not stuck to it, right? Like I'm observing. I'm allowing myself to decide what I want to experience. I am picking my thoughts. I am picking what I choose to experience. And granted, my body was experiencing something I did not necessarily want to experience, but I kept my mind, separate from it a little bit. And I wasn't perfect at this, okay? Like I had moments where it did run rampant, but I always came back to like no, those thoughts are happening because I just feel like they should be happening because my body is so, overwhelmed, right? So that's one big thing to keep in mind too, is like to build the toolkit, the toolbox for yourself to make this so much easier for you. Old me, if I had experienced this, may have spiraled for days on this. And instead it was like one day of true discomfort and another day prior of where it was like building up, and I was kind of ignoring it because I'm human and I'm not perfect and I like to ignore things that come up too, okay? Like you don't have to be perfect about it. And if you do spiral, who fucking cares, as long as you catch yourself, right? And who fucking cares if it takes you a couple weeks to get through something? As long as you're getting through it, does it really fucking matter? I don't think so. You'll get quicker with it over time. But, it could have been weeks. Old me, it would have been like weeks, months probably of me freaking the fuck out, like genuine. All right, guys, so that cut out because my headset decided to die, me talking in the middle, and that changed my audio settings, which stopped the recording on the podcast system. So this episode is a little hodgepodgey. So sorry about it. We're figuring it out. We're figuring out how to get this setup going in the camper because it's different. And I, for some reason, decided not to charge anything before I started recording, and everything is dying one at a time. So it is what it is. I think what I was saying is old me would have been freaking the fuck out for like a very long time, but now I have these tools, and I don't know if I didn't listen back before I started recording. Probably should have done that, but I didn't. So if I repeat myself, sorry. But what I was saying was that like investing in your self-regulation tools is like the best thing that you could do for yourself. And it is an investment because it's time, right? You have to read books or listen to podcasts or sign up for classes, do coaching, go to therapy, like learning your regulation tools so that you can, consciously choose discomfort, knowing that you are going to be uncomfortable, but knowing that you also have the tools in order to regulate it so that you can move towards your desires regardless of what happens, right? And if you do learn regulation tools from someone, maybe it's like online, you hear something, or it's from your friend or a family member or a coach or whatever, and if you do try a regulation technique and it doesn't work for you, just keep in mind that everyone is different, right? And just because someone's regulation works for them and it doesn't work for you doesn't mean like you're broken or something's wrong with you or that you just won't ever be able to learn regulation techniques for emotional and mental regulation, right? And just keep going, just keep trying new things out, keep investing in yourself, because everyone's toolbox looks different, right? Like there's people who love to do breath work and that's like their go-to. There's people who love to like go and meditate. There's people who love to go for hikes. There's people who love to paint. There's people who love to sing. Like, and all of these things are different. None of those things are my regulation techniques, right? Like I do a lot of talking and I do a lot of writing, and I do a lot of just like contemplation, and like those are my regulation techniques. And I'm well aware that that's probably not the average person's. But like we're all different, we're all unique, and our ways of regulating ourselves are just going to be as unique and as different as we are as well. So be patient with yourself while you are adding the tools to your tool belt, and know that like my tool belt is going to look different than yours, but it doesn't mean mine's better than yours or yours is better than mine. It's just like it's what works for us, and what's most important is taking the time to invest in yourself to learn what works for you, what makes you feel good, what helps you regulate your body, because that's all that's really important at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how you get there, just as long as you get there, right? And the last thing that I wanted to touch on this is that growth obviously lies on the other side of discomfort. And you cannot grow and be comfortable. It's not possible. It's not possible. That's like saying you're going on a vacation, but you're not driving anywhere or going on a plane, right? Like say you live in the desert and you're like, oh, I'm going on a vacation to the beach, but you don't drive anywhere, right? That's like trying to grow without discomfort. You just can't do it. It's part of the journey. It's part of the vehicle in which you get to your growth, to your desired states. And it is okay to be uncomfortable sometimes. And it is okay to be uncomfortable when you're following your desires and following your dreams and doing things that are different, right? It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's literally your human nature, and you don't have to like fight against it or argue it. You just have to embrace it and know that like it'll pass, right? Especially if you have the tools to regulate. It definitely will pass. And it's part of being human, and you don't need to ignore it or to like shut it down, stuff it down, or think badly about it, because it's literally just part of living life, right? And it's beautiful, and it means you're on the right path. Just let it happen, let it pass, move through it, grow through it, integrate it. And that's where your growth is going to come from, is by recognizing that you were uncomfortable and you are doing something different, and that you can do hard things, and that you are capable of regulating yourself, and you are capable of finding comfort in discomfort, right? And just know that it's moving you forward. It's getting you closer to your goals. Every step, every uncomfortable step of the way is getting you closer to your goals. And our desires, they lie on the other side of discomfort, and our desires, they're not in our reality currently, because we aren't that version of ourselves that reality exists for. So kind of confusing when I say like all everything already exists. It does, but the thing is like we have one point of consciousness. So imagine like all different variables. So let's say there's like 10 different ways that you can live life, right? And there's 10 different lines. You have the ability to view one line at a time. But just because you can't see the other 9 doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that you are not capable at the moment of experiencing it because you're not on that. And you can jump. Those are called like quantum leaps. You can jump to another timeline, to another version, to another, like one of those other 9 lines that would have that of which you are desiring to experience. Because if you can dream it, if you can think it, if you can desire it, it means it already exists and it means it's already yours. The only thing is that it is on one of those other 10 lines, right? And the way that you get yourself there is by aligning yourself to it, by taking the actions to get there. Think of yourself driving on a 10 lane highway. You've got to put your blinker on, right? And you've got to change your lane to go into a different one. You have to take an action that gets you there. You have to maybe like speed up your car to get in front of another one, or slow down, or look around and make sure that there's no one around you, right? Like you have to take action in order to get into that lane, in order to experience being in that lane. And that's basically what I mean when I say like you have to become that version of yourself, is that you just have to take the actions that are required to be that version of yourself. So if you want to be someone who, is a singer, do you sing daily? Have you invested in your singing? Do you have a singing coach? Are you recording yourself singing ever? Do you have friends that are in the industry? Do you go to events to network with people, right? Like, what actions are you taking? If you want to be a singer and you're not doing anything that a singer would do, doesn't it make sense that you wouldn't be experiencing it, right? It's like saying, I want to be in lane 2, but you're not putting your blinker on. You're not even contemplating moving over. You're not looking in your blind spots and your mirrors, nothing. You're just driving straight and you're like, I want to be in that lane. Nah, 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 like going forward, right? Like we've got to take action. We've got to do some things to get us into that lane. And it already exists. It's already yours. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It already exists. For the simple fact that you can think it means that it exists somewhere in the quantum field, which means that there is a timeline in which you are experiencing it. So it's not a matter of if you're worthy or not, because it already exists. It's already there. It's a matter of how willing are you to do the things required of you to get to that version of yourself, because it already exists. That version of you already exists. You just have to step into it by taking the actions, which might make you uncomfortable, which is the whole point of this podcast episode, of embracing the discomfort that comes with taking inspired action. Sometimes it's easy and you're like in flow state and you're like, yes, I love this. And then sometimes it's not easy and it's uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's different. And, it's already yours. It's already in your future. It's already in your future, which is so cool to think too, right? Like, it's already mine because I already think of it. And I'm capable of dreaming of it. So it's already mine. It's in my future. I just have to take the inspired actions and the required steps of me, even if I'm a little bit uncomfortable, but it's already destined to be mine if I do it. And we don't know exactly how that path is going to look. We don't know how long it's going to take. And we don't know if there's going to be like uphills, downhills, or if it's a smooth ride. We don't know. And that's totally cool, because it's kind of like going on a roller coaster. You don't know exactly what it's going to be like, but you're going for the thrill of it. And that's exactly what life should be like and should be viewed like, is that it's just a beautiful roller coaster of up and downs, twists and turns, fun, screaming, and having like a good time and enjoying it while it lasts, because everyone at the end of a roller coaster like wants to go again, right? Unless you're like me and you're like, get me the fuck off this thing. But most people want to go again. And want to experience the joy of the journey again. And that's really important too, is to know that what you want is already yours. It's already in your future. And that's why you're able to think of it, because you can already feel what it's like to have it, which is why you have the desire. And for you to feel like you already have it means that you already have it somewhere. But enjoy the journey of getting there, right? Enjoy the ride, enjoy the roller coaster, because it's the one you're on. There's no getting off this one, so you might as well enjoy it and be able to take nice deep breaths on it, and just enjoy the journey that life is bringing to you on this life called roller coaster. So enjoy being uncomfortable. Know that it is pushing you towards your desires. Push yourself through it, right? Not like to the point where it's overwhelming and like you can't do it, but like push yourself enough to where it's like a little bit out of your comfort zone, and pushing, and I don't like the word pushing. I don't know what else to use though, but it's like propelling you towards a new way of being, right? And you just want to get a little bit out of your comfort zone every day, more towards where you want to be. And the more you do it, the more comfortable it becomes. And that's like the paradox, right? The more uncomfortable you get and the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get with it. And it's like, how the fuck does that make sense? But that's life. The more you do something, the more comfortable you'll get, regardless of how uncomfortable it is the first time that you do it. Yeah, so this is what my thoughts were this week of what I have learned about myself, getting out of the comfort zone and doing the things that are different and maybe a little bit scary, but are propelling you towards your dream, and having the tools, and I realize how important it is to have the tools, and that's why I'm here. And I've had a lot of aha moments of like the things that I want to offer in regards to like my services as Breakthrough and Bloom and as a coach, and teaching regulation tools and all of the ones that I have learned, even if they're not the ones that I use personally, but they could be for someone else. Like I'm definitely having insights of like teaching this regulation that I was able to use this week, and really push myself forward in a way that feels really expansive. And I want that for you, and I want that for everyone, because everyone deserves to have their dreams and their desires and to push themselves forward and to grow at their own pace, but to do that because you're worthy of your desires. So this is my podcast episode today. Thank you for sticking through with me, with all of the hiccups, with my laptop dying, my microphone dying, and my headset dying. All of them died except for the camera for YouTube, so that is cool. But thank you. I'm so grateful for you for joining me on this journey and for listening and for connecting with me. And again, as always, if anything I said has resonated with you, or if you just want to like chat, reach out to me on Instagram at Breakthrough and Bloom. I would love to just connect, and to just have conversations, really. It doesn't have to be about anything in particular, but if you have questions, or if it's just like, that was like a really cool thing you said, or I'd love to like get more of your input on this, like whatever. Yeah, so thank you again. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I can't wait to see where it leads us. I can't wait to see what this massive discomfort I just experienced last week provides for me in terms of growth. And thank you again so much. And in case no one has told you this today, I am so incredibly proud of you. You are doing amazing, sweetie. And I love you. I love you. I love you. And I'll catch you in the next one.